Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at this Turf Power. It's an older machine made by MTD. I'm not sure what store sold the Turf Power brand, but it's an MTD machine. It's an older unit, but it seems to be in really nice shape. So we're going to get it ready for a customer who's interested in purchasing it. The deck spindle brakes are squealing, which indicates to me that the brake pads have fallen off. So I'll probably drop the deck out of it and have a look at that. What do we got under the hood? 12.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton Industrial. It's according to the engine code, first two digits are typically your years, so let's see if we can get that. 93, looks like a 1993 model. Tractor runs really good, actually. It was owned by an older gentleman. He always took it to the shop for repairs and services. He got to the point where he was ready to sell because he said he was too old to cut the grass. He just pays a young kid to do it now. That's alright. So I gave him what he was asking for this machine, and I'm going to get it spruced up and ready for resale. Alright, so we'll get things a little better organized in the shop so I can get some work done around here. And we'll record on the way. Alright, so let's go over a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to try and shoot some of this on my action camera, just because it's got a much wider lens. I know the audio is going to be way different from my normal video camera. This is 720p, and I think the other one is 1080. I'm not sure. Anyways, I'm not a camera guy. I'm a wrench and screwdriver and hammer guy. But anyways, just going to go over a couple of things that we're going to check out here. I've already looked at the air filter. The machine runs absolutely fine. There's nothing really wrong with it, but a new customer is going to purchase it. So I go over things and I make sure that everything is good for the customer. I sell stuff off my front lawn. I don't do online sales so much unless it's a really obscure thing. Like I've got a trencher that I need to sell, but that's not a real fast-moving item. So that's on Kijiji. But as far as lawn tractors and mowers and stuff, I put a for sale sign and I put them up on my front lawn. I live in a small town, and that means I sell to my neighbors and people that are around. So I don't sell junk. I want to make sure that everything is in good shape for the people that purchase it, and I do offer service after the sale. So it's a win-win for everybody. So at this point, I know that somebody's already put a gas valve on this machine. That's good. Every lawn tractor that has a fuel tank mounted higher than the carburetor should have a fuel shut-off valve, and you should shut that off in between mowings. If you don't, what will happen is eventually the weight of the fuel, especially if you leave it with a full tank, the weight of the fuel will overcome the needle in the float bowl, and it will overflow the carburetor, go into the engine, leak past the rings, and it'll fill the crankcase full of gas. I've seen lots of machines with lots of gas in the oil, and that's what's causing it. So we're not going to pull the carburetor apart on this. It runs absolutely beautifully. So I did run it. I did warm it up. The oil is a little bit low and it's a little bit dirty. So we're going to change the oil. We're going to pull the plug out. We're going to make sure that that's okay. There's some pieces of hardware back here that I want to replace. The seat bolts are not correct. They use nuts in a lock washer. They're not supposed to be. They're supposed to be more like a nylock, self-locking nut, so you can leave them a little loose and the seat will move nice and free. This is very stiff. But it should just drop down into position. I'm going to replace those. I've already charged the battery. It's all good. I'm going to take the connections back apart. I'm going to clean the two terminals, and we'll get that figured out. I'm going to recheck the belts, make sure those are okay. Like I mentioned earlier, the brakes on the spindles are a little noisy, so we're going. I believe the pad material has fallen off of them, so I got a little trick that I use, and I'm going to put some pad material on there and get those working again. When it was moving, I noticed a squeak. Spindles on the wheels are dry. I'm going to pull all the wheels off. I'm going to grease the spindles, make sure that's all perfect. First, I'm going to get a pan over here while this thing is still warm, and we're going to pull this plug out here, and we're going to drain the oil. So hang on, we'll get you in the stand. We'll get things figured out. Oh, it looks a little dry in there. steering shaft. That's going to all get greased and lubed. Alright, hang on. Alright, so we got the oil draining. Good thing, it's pretty black. And it's warm, the engine's warm, so it should drain pretty good. Meanwhile, I'm going to get in there and squirt those gears a little bit. A little bit of lube in the steering. Spray lube. It's a grease product, it works pretty good. And up in there, a little bit of grease. This engine doesn't have an oil filter. It's not a pressure lube system, it's a splash lube system, so we'll just let her drain a little. Get some more grease down in there. That should be good. A little bit of grease on the throttle linkage. That's alright. I'm going to get some hardware together and we'll change those seat bolts just because I don't like them. So we'll change them out and make that seat work a little bit better. We'll lube the pivots. Yeah, that's smoother. Nice. That should work. Alright. Alright, we're back over on the big camera now. I've already done my hardware swap. You can see I got some self-locking nuts on there now. That thread is just engaged in the nylock, so it'll hold. And they're snug to take up slack, but they're not so tight that they can't pivot. Do both sides there. That's also a nylock nut. This one is a little bit more interesting. It had a shoulder on this bolt that had to fit through this little spring bracket. But we got it aligned, got it figured out. I have yet to clean up the connections yet. That's a couple of screws. Clean up the terminals with Scotch-Brite. Clean up the lead block on the battery with Scotch-Brite. And then that'll be all set. But this works so much nicer now. Perfect. That's the way it should be. The headlights did work on this tractor. The switch gave up. It's very... I won't even go over now. Yeah, they won't turn on. 2 terminals, that's just a straight switch. Well, I went through my random assortment junk drawer, one of many, and I found another switch, but this one happens to be lighted. So, there's the original 2 terminals off the switch, just to turn the lights on and off. This one here is what grounds the little neon light inside here. So I just made up a little jumper and ran it around the bottom here and just screwed it into something steel. Nylock nuts. I like nylock nuts because they don't rattle loose. So we'll just get that pressed into the dash there. Okay. I gotta fire it up, so it might get a little loud. Hang on. Over there. Only works when it's running. Doesn't run directly off the battery. But yeah, so the headlights work. The lighted switch lights up and lights the lights. So we're golden. That's not a bad little tractor. It's nice and clean. I mean, it's got pine needles and stuff from sitting in my yard, but it's not rotted out or anything. Deck is solid. Speaking of deck, I think that's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to lift the front of this up so I can get the wheels off and grease the spindles. And while it's up there, I'm going to have a look underneath that deck. We'll use the control lever there to lower the deck and get that working. Something maybe interesting to note. Most lawn tractors that I've come across, I mean, there's a lot of these designs. If you see a gear shift plate like this in the middle of your MTD made tractor, then it's probably going to be similar. But
This lever here, when you pull it out and drop it down, that's what lowers your deck. Most tractors have a separate engagement for the blades. Either it's a PTO button, PTO toggle, oh sorry, PTO, it's electric clutch on John Deere's anyways, or it's a mechanical lever that engages the blades, and then you have a separate lever to adjust your height. This tractor here, when you pull it out from its parked position, and as soon as you start to move it forward, it engages the blades, and at the same time as lowering the deck. So as soon as it comes off the park position, it starts to engage the blades, and then you slowly lower it to the position you want to cut at, and then you're set. It's kind of interesting. It's called a 7-speed, but it's also a Transmatic. They've got it labeled here, and I know it's upside down, but so you basically, that's your forward and reverse, and neutral, and these are your speeds. So it goes fast in rewind too. As you're moving forward, if you want to go a little bit faster, you lightly depress the clutch, and then you can move this lever to whatever position you want. You move it up, move it down as you're rolling. So that's kind of interesting. It works. We're going to pull this plate off here, and we're going to inspect inside. That's where the belt system and all the levers and things, stuffs are. So we're going to pull that off, and we're just going to have a quick gander in there and make sure that everything's golden for the customer. So we'll get you figured out. We got the tractor lifted in the air. Now that I've got that ground on there, I am done under the hood. Grease everything that moves. Little contact points here is where these bars latch. So a little bit of lube. If it's not squeaky and creaky and carrying on, then it's a much better, much nicer unit to use. So we'll get the front end lifted and I'll bring you back. Alright, so we'll cut back to the small camera here. It doesn't have a light on it, so I'll use my little flashlight. We've got that top plate off, and I'm looking in, just looking inside there, checking for things to lube, checking the condition of the belt. It's not the greatest, but it's not bad. It'll work. This is our variable speed pulley that works similar to a skidoo snowmobile, where basically the pulley squeezes together and moves apart. Right now it's farther apart, so the belt is in a small driven area, and as it squeezes together, the belt rides to the outside, and that makes it go faster. It makes the tractor move faster. So they're neat. They're different. But I do have another machine, much newer machine than this, that is outside there waiting to come into the shop, and it has a very similar drive system. So I've lubricated everything, make sure all this stuff is moving, all their little linkages and things. All the safeties are in place, and everything's working. The only safety that isn't working is the one that was previously repaired, in quotation marks. I believe that was the safety that goes underneath this plate here, and I think if the blades are engaged, it's not working, so I'm not sure. I think if the blades are engaged and you put it in reverse, it kills the motor. I think that's the way that works on this one. It wasn't functioning for me when I got the thing, so I'm not sure, and I've never owned one of these before. So anyways, everything looks okay in there. The little brake pads that I was talking about on the deck, I did get a look at those, and they're not what's more common now. So what's common now is, we got a bit of a glare. Let's go to the other side. Easier to use with my light. What's common now is when you release the blades or disengage the blades, what happens is an arm, spring-loaded arm, comes in and touches the side of the pulley, and it's got brake pad material like your car, like brake pad material that stops the pulley. Well, this one here doesn't have any of those. I'm like, well, I know there was brakes on it, because when I shut the blades off, it was loud and scrapey. I don't know what happened there. Something, the camera cut out. Anyways, instead of having spring-loaded brake arms that touch the side of the pulley, like on the newer machines, this one is done on the top, and that is our brake pad right there, right here. So that when you lift the deck, it disengages the blades, and this brake pad material rides on top of this pulley here, on that shiny, well, it's supposed to be shiny, rusty spot. And they didn't stop very fast, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to bend those the brakes down. I'm just going to bend those tabs down a little bit, get a little more force on those pulleys to stop. But that explains why it was squealing when I disengaged the deck. As far as the front wheels go, conveniently, I found grease fittings. So I just greased them from inside, and now they're nice and quiet. Works pretty good. I'm going to get a little spray grease and get in there on the pivots. Now this camera doesn't pick up light very well. I have to have a light, an outside light source with it. Okay, well that's something to know anyways. Like I said, it's an action camera and it's not an expensive one. It was a $60 cheapie Amazon. The deck underneath is in great shape, other than it needs a severe scraping. It's pretty clumpy under there. It does have nearly new blades on it that are still sharp, so I don't even have to do that. And I know they were brand new because the customer, well, the guy I bought it from, said that his mechanic put brand new blades on it and didn't know why, because the old ones were just fine, and he handed them to me, and they're not even dull. His mechanic put a pair of brand new ones on there, so I have a spare set of blades for this. I think I'm going to put a piece of cardboard under here and scrape this, because that's that's pretty thick. All right, we'll carry on here in a minute.
All right, we're back to the big boy camera. The little one died. The little tiny batteries don't last very long. So, what's left? Oh, I still got to pull the spark plug out. Should be fine. It looks nice and clean, but I'm gonna pull the spark plug out and have a look. I have greased the hubs, greased the spindles where they pivot on the steering, greased all the little pieces of linkage with spray lube that I could lube. I adjusted the brakes a little tighter on the spindles so they stop faster. They don't make that god-awful death rattle when you release the blades anymore. I spent some quality time under that deck with the scraper, and I got a lot of the crap out of there. I got about half a garbage bag full of old clumped up grass out of there. And because I have the ability to do so, I oil sprayed the underneath of that deck. It's not rotted through. It's got rust in it like any other lawnmower deck, and I know it's not going to be used really soon. It's only the beginning of April here, right now. So I oil sprayed it for the customer. Lubed the little skid wheels. Lubed all the linkages underneath there for the transmission and for the drive and the gears and the clutch and all that stuff. We changed the oil. I filled up the tires. They were holding air. They were just a couple of pounds low. We had those plastic hubcaps on there, but these rims are actually in really nice shape, so a little dirty, but they're in nice shape. So I'm going to leave them like that. I'll give the customer the hubcaps if he wants them. If not, they're going in the recycling bin. It's got a little charger on there, topping up that battery, making sure it's good. We fixed the light switch with a nice fancy upgrade. Now it's a lighted light switch. So I guess, yeah, the next thing is I'll pull that plug out and we'll have a look. And then after that, it's going to go outside for a bath. Give her a little spray down with some Simple Green, pressure wash, and go from there. Yeah, look. Oh, focus, focus. There you go. There you go. That plug looks new. I'm going to pull it out of there and have a look anyways. I've got brand new ones here. Filters, air filter's nice. We checked that. It's all good. The linkage on the carburetor is all lubricated and good to go. What else? I don't think there's anything else. That is non-ethanol fuel in there. I don't use anything except non-ethanol fuel in small engines with these carburetors, because the ethanol is horrendous on these things. It's hard on them. So pull the plug and then it's got to go outside for a bath. So I'm going to get that done. Next shot, I'm going to have you up on a tripod. I'll be pressure washing this thing, and I'm pretty sure that, I mean, some people like pressure washing videos, but I'm going to time-lapse that or fast-forward it or do something with it. But we'll get her cleaned up, and I'll get her a little bit of soap on a cloth, and we'll get her cleaned up and shined up. Lipstick and high heels. And it's that sells. If it looks good, it sells. And there's a lot of resale red on this particular tractor. Alright, hang on. We'll get you outside. We'll get the pressure washer fired up. Alright, so it's not out in the yard to get washed yet. Ran into just a bit of a thing, actually. So when you put it in first and second gear,
intermittently, it doesn't want to move. So, this is a relatively complicated setup. It's not a regular transaxle. It relies on different slip clutches and pulleys and variable pulleys and a number of different things to make it work. But anyways, what I decided was that there was something that was not allowing the clutch pedal to release enough to engage the drive. So I'm looking around for binding or something not working, something worn, something seized. I didn't find any of that. But what I did find is that there's an adjustment. So let's see if we can get you in there. So that little bell crank there, there's a slot in it. Yep, there you can see it. So when you release the clutch, this rod moves rearward depending on what gear you have it set in. So right now it's in low gear. When it's in high gear, the rod is allowed to move farther back, which allows the clutch to engage farther, which allows the other pulleys to move the way they need to move to increase your speed. Anyways, long story short, what I'm going to do is, because it seems like it's not allowed to move back far enough, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nut off of here. Well, yeah, I guess it's an adjuster nut. It's basically a stud that is machined, and it goes through this bracket, and there's a cotter pin on the back of it. So I'm going to pop that cotter pin out. I'm going to take that nut off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the nut farther this way on the shaft. So basically tighten the nut on a little farther, which will allow this rod to move back a little farther, and it should engage. I don't know how sensitive these adjustments are. Like I said, I've never worked on one like this before, but it's a good primer course because I had got another one outside that is the same type of drive. Anyways, we're going to try that. I'm going to take that off. I'm going to basically shorten this rod. This one right here, to allow it to move back further, and hopefully we get our low ranges back. Like I said, it's intermittent. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but even when it does work, it seems a little sluggish. It's like it's slipping, so I think maybe a small adjustment here is going to be just what we need. So I'm going to try that, and we'll come back. All right, out with you. Well, not too bad. Looks pretty good. Pretty shiny. Ooh, shiny. Like I said before, resale red. I don't want to get too hardcore on the dash there. I don't want stuff getting the switches and the gauge, and I don't want to blow any decals off, so I lost a decal off that mower. That's going to be an upcoming project. That was another group buy. Guy said, you know what, it runs great, but doesn't cut grass very well. I sharpened the blade, but still not working very well. Well, brother, that blade's on upside down. Yeah, that ain't gonna do it. Alright, so on this one here, all I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna just fill a bucket with some car soap and water, and I'm gonna just give her a hand wash. Gets rid of that spray nine. I was gonna use Simple Green, but I already had spray nine in a spray bottle, so we're gonna use some car soap now. It gets the film of the spray nine off. I'm not sure if you can be able to see it, but in the dry spots there, it looks a little chalky. Oh sure, yeah, you can see it. It looks a little chalky, so just a little rub with my dry knuckle there actually shines it up, so yeah. Okay, I think we'll cut this one off here. We're good to go. First time this year I had the pressure washer out, and I need to use it on a few more things. You don't need to see me pressure washing my lawn furniture, so boring. Anyways guys,
let's head back to the garage and I'll do a little close-up thing and we'll go from there. Actually, before I walk over the garage, there's a reason I pressure wash stuff here. Lands on the driveway, goes to the side, and runs into the drainage that I have installed in the backyard. Well, you see we got some deadfall here from a storm, but there's a trench that runs right along there. It curves, goes back over there near the fence. That's the lowest part of my property. And then there's a sump pump. Automatic, it's on a float, so when it fills up, it dumps out. And while I was just telling you, just saying where that routing is, I can actually hear it dumping out. It was running at the time, so. Alright, we'll head back to the garage and do a close up here on this video. Alright guys, well that just about finishes this episode. I'm going to let that dry off a little bit. We'll let the chalky residue set up. I'll get a bucket out there with some soap and water. Nice day out, a couple of Harleys going by. Mine's not out yet, mine's not ready. But yeah, somebody told me they never see my face on my videos, so here it is. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. You decide. Leave me a comment down below. We'll determine if I do any more of these or not. Anyways, yeah, I'm just going to close up this video. I've got other stuff to pressure wash, and then I'll get back to that and I'll wash it up. That's going to be the first lawn tractor video of this year. We are all done with snowblowers for this year. I did have two out there that didn't actually sell. I was concerned last fall that I didn't have any snowblowers to sell, so I got a couple to sell, but they didn't move. We had 3 or 4 good storms that were probably enough to use a snowblower. I used mine 3 or 4 times, but it's new to me, so I'll use it if I got 2 inches of snow. I'll use it if I know it's going to melt that afternoon, just because I can. So, anyways, guys, thanks for joining me again on this video. Please don't forget to click the like button. Likes help me out. And I got a new fancy, which side are we on? Probably there. This one? There. Right there. There's a little square. It says subscribe. I put that on there just recently. Click on this subscribe button, and don't forget to click the bell icon to notify you when I upload new videos. Till the next one, take care. Catch you later.